Canada's Wonderland in Vaughan, Ontario is a park with a wide variety of coasters. They have 18 coasters, behind only Energylandia in Poland and Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. But how do these coasters compare? Find out right now on Coaster Juice. Before we start, I was unfortunately not able to ride Snoopy's Racing Railway on my visit to Canada's Wonderland, so it will not be included on this list. Starting off the list at number 17 is Taxi Jam. This is by far the smallest roller coaster in the park, so there's not much to say about it. That being said, it's not a bad ride, and I'm sure little kids will find it enjoyable. Next up on the list, at 16, is Thunder Run. This powered coaster has cool lighting inside Wonder Mountain and keeps its speed well. This coaster also has a good setting, with nice foliage around it and cool wooden supports. Next on the list, at number 15, is The Fly. This is the large park version of the Mock Ride's Wild Mouse, and it's the best Wild Mouse I've done. When I rode it, it had most of the brakes on the top part turned off, so it went around some of those turns really fast. I also thought this coaster had great operations for a wild mouse, especially compared to some like Psycho Mouse at California's Great America. Coming in at number 14 is Silver Streak. I've heard a lot of people say this coaster is rough, and while that is true, it's not that bad because you don't hit your head. I found it to be more enjoyable than I thought it would be going in, and it's a decent size for a family coaster. Next up, at number 13, is Ghoster Coaster. This family wooden coaster is one of the original coasters from 1981, and you can tell it's old when you ride it. This coaster is a bit rough, but it was also more forceful than I was expecting for a family coaster, so I was pleasantly surprised overall. This is definitely the most thrilling ride between the Kidsville and Planet Snoopy sections at the park. Number 12 on the list is Wonder Mountain's Guardian. If you want to skip spoilers for this ride, I'll put a timestamp on the screen for you to skip to. I really enjoyed the interactivity of this ride and the drop track, but there were also some things about this ride that let me down. Mainly, about half the guns on all the ride's vehicles were broken, severely impacting the capacity of the coaster. Because of this ride had the slowest moving line in the park, so I'd like to see those guns get fixed at some point. Additionally, I lost, so naturally it loses some points for that. Next up at number 11 is Backlot Stunt Coaster. This was my favorite family coaster in the park. The launch is good, and the upwards helix that follows has some very sustained G-force. I also liked the snappy transitions on this ride, and when it shoots out of the billboard, even though I wish the billboard said something on it instead of just being blank. I was also very surprised by the dark section, because I wasn't expecting that. Barely making the top 10 of this list is Flight Deck. Before riding this, I had only heard bad things, so I went into this ride expecting the worst. It might be because I rode it in the second row, but I didn't think this coaster was that bad. I know this is very controversial, but I think Colossus at Thorpe Park is more painful than this ride. It is still the most painful ride in the park, but I found it to be enjoyable. If you can get past the roughness, it is a very forceful ride. I know a lot of people want them to tear this out, and I wouldn't mind if they tore this out in favor of something better, but I also wouldn't mind if it stays. Next up at number 9 is Dragonfire. This coaster is another park original, and it definitely has the jank that aero coasters are known for. This coaster definitely runs kind of rough through the turn at the end and the corkscrews. However, the first part is really good. The two loops were a lot more intense than I was expecting on this ride. It's a decent ride, but it's kind of funny how the brake run of Leviathan next door is taller. Coming in at number 7 is the Bat. Vekoma boomerangs like this get a lot of hate, but I found this one to be enjoyable. Maybe it's because this coaster's running an aero train, but I found this coaster to be very smooth. I also found sitting in the back, going backwards through the loop, to be extremely intense. I get how these are repetitive when there are so many parks, but I found this to definitely be one of the better ones. Next on the list at number 7 is Vortex. Going into this ride, I wasn't sure if it would be a family coaster or not, but it is definitely thrilling. This coaster also has the same aero jank as Dragonfire, but I find this to be a very fun coaster. This coaster, staying very low to the ground, keeps its speed well through the layout, making you swing out to the side a lot. I also enjoy how the coaster interacts with Wonder Mountain, going on top of it and dropping off of it for its first drop. Next up at number 6 is Mighty Canadian Minebuster. Having a reputation for being a rough ride, but also having been refurbished for the 2025 season, I wasn't sure what to expect going into this ride. This wooden coaster is another 1981 park original, but the first half of it was retracked for 2025 by the Gravity Group. Because of this, the first half of the ride is perfectly smooth, but the second half, particularly the helix at the end, is very bumpy. Being an out and back coaster, this coaster does have some good airtime, but also a lot of the hills are pretty flat because it crosses under the water slide park, making the airtime not that great. Overall, it is a pretty enjoyable coaster though. Coming in at number 5 on the list is Wild Beast. This coaster is another park original from 1981, and you can definitely tell when you ride it. This ride is the second most painful coaster in the park, behind Flight Deck, but I do think this is the bumpiest. However, the airtime on this ride is surprisingly great. I know a lot of people rank this coaster low for how painful it is, but I think it's definitely worth it for the airtime. I would say this coaster has the second most airtime in the park, behind Behemoth, and has the strongest airtime in the park, with the exception of a few spots on AlpenFury. I know a lot of you watching this video will disagree with this ranking, but I don't care because it's my list. Barely missing the top 3 on this list is Yukon Striker. I've heard a lot of people say B&M dive coasters are forceless, but I found this coaster to be pretty enjoyable. Most people call dive coasters one-trick ponies, and while the drop is amazing, I also find this coaster to hold up well through the whole layout. I found the loop into the Immelman to be surprisingly intense, and I was surprised by the little bit of airtime on the last hill into the helix. I know this ride is one of the more dynamic dive coasters, but from this ride I found the model to be very good. Taking bronze at number 3 is Leviathan. This Giga coaster is the 6th tallest coaster in the world, and it's the only coaster in the park with a drop that rivals Yukon Strikers. The sense of speed at the bottom of the drop is crazy, as it reaches 148 kilometers an hour, or 92 miles an hour. This coaster also has a few hills with good sustained floater airtime. One complaint I have with this ride is how short the duration is. I understand it was the prototype B&M Giga coaster, so they probably wanted to play it safe, but as I mentioned before, the brake run on this coaster is taller than Dragonfire, so they clearly could have made the coaster a lot longer. It's still an extremely good ride, but the next one on the list is just a bit better. Number 2 on the list is Behemoth. At first glance, being so much shorter and slower than Leviathan, you might wonder why I have it higher. While I had a difficult time deciding which to put above, there are 2 main reasons I decided to put this above Leviathan. One of the reasons is duration. This coaster is so much longer than Leviathan, which adds a lot to the experience. The main reason that I have this coaster above Leviathan is because of the airtime. This coaster has tons of camelbacks that each deliver sustained floater airtime. This coaster has more airtime than any other coaster in the park, for sure. I also appreciate the staggered seating to make the train longer, so there's more whip in the back row. This coaster also has a good first drop and a surprisingly intense turnaround, but the main focus of the ride is definitely the camelback hills. Before I say what the number one coaster is, if you're enjoying this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. And finally, the number one coaster at Canada's Wonderland is AlpenFury. I went into this coaster expecting the best and was still blown away. This coaster is super intense in so many ways. Its second launch is one of the most powerful launches I've experienced, and it has some of the strongest positive Gs of any coaster I've ridden. The double inverting top hat as you launch out of Wonder Mountain is insane, and definitely one of my favorite elements on any coaster I've ridden. This coaster also has some surprising moments of ejector airtime at the end, and after the first launch as you go down into Wonder Mountain. This coaster also has some very unique elements, such as the Fire Serpent roll and the Ice Winder roll. It's also a fairly long ride, with no dead spots anywhere. And all those reasons are why I think AlpenFury is the best coaster at Canada's Wonderland. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.